Today on the Self Smarter podcast.
To lead someone who leads others effectively, it's crucial to gain a deeper understanding of their perspective. And I think often you may already have that established with the person you're leading, but it's being conscious of expanding that to the team as well. Hi, we're Danelle and Megan, the hosts of this conversation-centric podcast for leaders seeking to be better every day. Whether you choose to be a leader in the workplace, at home, or in your community, we believe the most effective leaders are equipped to not only be self-starters, but self-smarter.
Hello and welcome to Self Smarter. I'm Megan and this is my friend and co-host Danelle.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Did you get situated okay?
I did. I almost fell out of the chair, so somebody has the giggles today. Good Lord. Why would you laugh at me? Because I'm not laughing, so it's not like you're laughing with me.
We're going to laugh. We're going to laugh.
I just adjusted myself and overcompensated and almost fell.
Well, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. It was just funny because of the timing you were doing it. I was saying, hello and welcome to Self Smarter. And you're all wiggle, wiggle. Fall. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about...
Speaking of fall.
Yes?
It is.
It is.
Yay.
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 It's really not, but it's coming around the corner. When this goes live, I know. Danelle's trying to pull a fast one. And I'm saying no.
Pull a fast one.
We still have heat here in Dallas, but
we're recording episode 86.
86. It's going to be a minute.
Yeah.
Y'all, it might be Thanksgiving next week. Happy Thanksgiving. No, we can't wait for fall to get here. And it is here.
Right.
Luckily for us. You have on your fall colors?
I do.
So nice.
I do.
Very nice looking. I hope that all the football teams that you all follow are doing very well this season.
Yes.
All right. Seriously, though, leading someone who leads. This is a big topic.
Yeah, you champion this one.
Yes, because it's my everyday. Mm-hmm. It once was your everyday. And it's just really important to think about it, to discern, what am I doing right now? I'm leading someone who's learning how to lead, or I'm learning someone who leads someone else. So by default, you're leading that person too. So I just thought this was an interesting concept. And I read an article on entrepreneur.com. And the article says that people tend to think that leaders are powerful, command and control type individuals who direct their own destiny and the destinies of every individual within the organization. And I think that this is partially true, but not always. Like the way that it was written, it's so harsh. It's like,
gosh, I was like, I did not like any part of that. Command and control.
Command. Yes.
Was a very masculine.
Yes. Yes. And so
who was the writer? Who was the writer?
No, I think it was just entrepreneur.com.
Oh, okay, got it.
Like Forbes.
Yeah, like an editorial piece, yeah.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, and I think that you are listening, because you just heard me say that, you know that the truth is that leadership is packed with big deals. It's like packed with responsibility, limitations, and ultimately paradoxes in your life. So I want to talk about the paradox right now between what people think leadership is versus what leadership really is.
Right.
It's almost like false pretenses.
Yes. You're asking me?
Yeah, tell me. Let's talk about it.
Gosh, I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
I think one that I struggled with early on was I felt like if I was going to be a good leader, I had to have the answers to everything. I should be the one that knows.
You know what you told me recently?
What?
You told me this 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Do you remember what feedback you received in therapy?
What?
I will never forget it.
I receive a lot of feedback in therapy.
You told me I need to learn to say, I don't know more.
Yes.
So there you go.
And just for context, it was more about a future, what's going to happen in the future. Like I was future tripping and the recommendation was you've got to be more comfortable with, I really don't know where this relationship's going or whatever, fill in the blank, and be okay with it. But understand what you do know. And what you do know is I'm going to be prepared for an outcome that could be any number of them.
It's the same in leadership.
It is. It can be. Yeah, absolutely. So it certainly, I think it's great leaders when they don't know an answer are very skilled at, first of all, owning that.
Yes.
And maybe you know part of the answer, but sometimes we feel like we just have to know it all, and we don't. No. We should be able to be skilled at being a leader that can find out the answer to something that they don't know, or to the problem, or to the opportunity. And so I think that's one of the struggles, is that when you're in this leadership and you've decided to be a leader, is I've got to know everything there is.
How?
And there's not possible.
Oh.
But I think at times, if you know what you were talking about, are,
yes,
control, or you're supposed to,
answers.
Right. So I think that that's part of it. And along those lines is, I think that as you evolve in your leadership journey, I think we can tend to have a problem letting go. And we do want to be in control of all the things. And so I think that is a challenge, because great leaders are not successful by what they hold on to and control, but really, quite honestly, what they can let go of. And I mean, I learned that. I mean, obviously succeeding the company to you and the team, and from the day-to-day operations standpoint, I didn't just do that one day.
Yeah.
That took a lot of work to prepare for that to happen. But then the work that had to happen for me on the other side, and we've talked a lot about it on this podcast, I did get the preparation and in the choice of the leaders at this company and putting you on a position to win. I failed to understand what it was going to be like not to be in control of the day-to-day operations of the company. So that was a whole nother topic. But I think that's, again, probably those are the two of the top things that I think people can expect it of leaders, that they know everything and that they're in control of all. But I also think that leaders themselves can struggle with both of those things.
I think people want leaders to have all the answers, in my experience.
Sure.
The quiet looks up, like something weird happens, or there's a big problem, or there's a big win. Everyone looks to the leader in the room to have the reaction.
Yep.
That we're all going to follow. So I think that's really interesting. All right, this is a great start. Let's go deeper into this topic after this quick commercial.
Hello, Self-Smarter leaders. I have some exciting and game-changing news for you today. At long last, we've developed an Enneagram tool that you are going to want to sink your teeth into as you prepare for the new year coming soon. I'm so excited to share this with you. So here's what I want you to know. First of all, with this offer, you get 2 incredible resources all about the Enneagram for only $29. So happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to all of you. Okay, what a great gift too to give to somebody. But when you purchase this Enneagram bundle, you receive first our document called Exploring the Enneagram, which we created ourselves, which comes in the form of an ebook and provides you with a comprehensive look at each of the 9 Enneagram types and the unique difference between each type's core fears, desires, motivations, coping behaviors, and so much more. All the things we talk about here on the podcast that you love. And we made it just for you, so it's easy to follow and digest. It's not overwhelming. And then secondly, in the bundle, you receive a second ebook titled Leadership and the Enneagram. This Enneagram tool aims to help you become a more informed and intentional leader so that you can guide your team to begin their own personal growth journey. What better gift can you bestow upon someone other than the gift of knowledge? So we want to bestow that on you first with that first document, Exploring the Enneagram, so that you can then turn around and lead someone else in light of the Enneagram with the Leadership and Enneagram ebook. You're going to love them both, and we've priced it to sell at that $29 price point, so you're welcome. Visit BeSelfSmarter.com and click on Resources to get your Enneagram bundle today.
All right. So most of the time we speak generally about leadership, but today we're honing in on leaders that lead other leaders. We've already touched on that in the opening. This can be particularly challenging because in this role as a leader, you're not only responsible for the success of the person you're leading, but also the person that they're leading. So the question today is, how do you lead someone who leads someone else effectively? What I love about this is, Danelle, you coach me now, like right now, currently, because I'm a leader leading other leaders at your business.
Yes. And I, again, I said it, I'll say it again, is that leading someone who leads can take a while to settle into that role, because you're having to look at so many different dynamics. Is you can't really lead someone unless you know them deeply in general. And then now knowing you're fully knowing that person plus the people they lead.
Right. So all that finessing.
Yes. And understanding, okay, Megan, you're leading this team. If I don't know those that you're leading, how am I going to be able to guide you when you come to a position of, say, struggle or a difficult circumstance? If I don't know anything about your team, it's going to be hard for me to say, well, I think, this group's going to be okay with this challenge, but I think there's going to be some that are going to struggle with it. Think about that, any guidance that I could give you. So I think that it's important. And, because as a group, the leader and those on the, I'm just going to say team for simplistic sake, we do need to know about everyone's motivations, fears, desires, how they're wired, relative to these complexities. So I think that when we are in that position, I think it's easy to think, well, I just really have to focus on the person who, I'm going to use this and I don't like these terms, but report directly to me.
Right.
That's where my focus needs to be.
Right.
And I'm here to tell leaders that my experience has said, no, just because someone else is quote unquote in charge of leading the group.
Right. The hierarchy.
Doesn't mean that as the leader who's not me in this case,
right.
in this state of our company's, seasons, it's just as important for me to be fully invested in everyone.
It is.
Not just you, even though most of my dialogue is between you and I at this stage. Yeah.
What's interesting about your purview, it's so interesting to me, and I still haven't cracked the code on this, meaning I don't know how to do this yet. I don't know, maybe it's a gift or a sixth sense that you have, but you have always been like, I'm just going to I'm going to use a random name, but what I'm going to mean is like a specialist level person. Mm-hmm. Okay. You'll say, we may be on the phone talking about our books. I don't know, like something very normal. And then you'll go, you know what? I think something's off about so-and-so. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there is, it's like a surprise to me, but you have this keen sense of awareness around little things or big things really that trigger you to realize that something may be wrong or not exactly the way it should be with someone that I can't even see. And I'm talking about people that you and I do not directly lead. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that's interesting.
I think it ties back to, and we had a whole episode on this episodes back. I can't remember what number, maybe it was 82, on the differences and the similarities between managing and leading. And I think, it's
nice recall.
Yeah, look at there, honing that recall skill. Mm-hmm. But what I would say is part of my leadership development and the things that I've learned through coaching and my own commitment to being a better leader is the art of observation. And not just thinking about what I have to say or just thinking about, but being able to pay attention to people and how they normally show up. Because in the work environment, there could be a struggle, but we all have, we're leading lives outside of the workplace or work time, work windows, since there's so much remote now. Yeah. Where, goodness gracious, who only knows what someone's dealing with? That adage, always be kind because you never know what someone's going through. Well, also be observant. There could be something personally going on. There could be a struggle, within our business. And so I think that's just something that I don't know that I have a sixth sense, but I think we all have intuition. It's just, we have to use that muscle. more.
I think it's your empathy.
Potentially.
I don't want to see it. I'm being honest. Like, I don't want to see it. The minute you call it out, like when you go, something's not right, I'm like, damn it. Because that means something is wrong, and I don't
Not always.
want that for somebody. Well, but like, if they're going through something personally or professionally, I know it's hard for them, and it makes me uncomfortable.
But I do think that is, on our topic today. I mean, I think it's important to, if you're in the position of leading another leader, that's one of the greatest supports you can give to that person is to be observant of the group that they're working with. Or, again, quote, how many times we're going to say lead today?
I know,
clearly a lot. Boy, today is the ideal day. If you're listening to our podcast and would like to participate in a drinking game of water because you want to hydrate, you're going to be very hydrated by the end of this episode.
Yes, perfect.
Yes. But I think that's important. It's like, what is my role? Like identifying what your role is to support that leader and ultimately that team. And that's a different mindset. And it took me a while to figure out how to be a leader to you leading this company.
Yeah.
And I'm still, obviously we're constantly working on it. It depends on what's going on with the business. When the business is in growth mode, it looks like this. When the business is inevitably dealing with a struggle of some kind, whatever that is, then it's just different sitting in this seat.
It is. Let's talk about that. You're going to do a lion's share of the talking today because we're going to pick your brain today. But let's talk about some of the strategies that you've applied over. I said, I was thinking about my leadership journey, but really it's everyone's leadership journey that's worked for you ever or with you or you leading a business. My gosh. You've got a broad swath of experience. So let's talk about that. Again, I want to, before we kind of go into some of these things, I think that there's not always defined roles in terms of leader leading another leader. So I want to point that out. For a lot of you, it is very much determined because there's, again, we don't like this word boo, but the hierarchy in your organization, and it is a lot. We have a lot of C-suite folks listening to this. So they oversee a team and maybe they have a team leader or they have multiple roles in their hierarchy that report into them. And so we're speaking to some of that today, but that doesn't always have to be the case. So I just wanted to put that out there. But and we talked about this a little bit already, but I think it's important that initially when you have identified that you're in that role, you're leading someone who's leading others, that you gain perspective and find empathy for those that you're leading. And and that doesn't have to be because that's an innate skill for you. It should be something conscious that you're trying to do. So, and the reason why is I think to lead someone who leads others effectively, it's crucial to gain a deeper understanding of their perspective. And again, I think often you may already have that established with the person you're leading, but it's being conscious of expanding that to the team as well. That's right.
Right. I think that's important. And I think recognizing their role involves balancing the needs and aspiration of the team members within the goals of the organization, but then also take time to engage in open, honest conversations with them.
That's right.
So we all have work. There's a purpose to the work, and that has to get done. But I think our role leading the leaders can be a huge support in really creating the environment for the open exchange.
Right.
I think that's a critical role in these particular instances, and creating spaces for open dialogue around challenges, the goals themselves. Are they attainable? Are these reasonable? Or what are the challenges of us with hitting them, and are we blowing them away? That type of thing. And then I think because what that allows us to do is when we're doing that, we're gaining more understanding of the points of view of everyone involved. That when you know that, and when I know that, for instance, relative to our dynamic, I can help you see like what you described. If somebody's struggling, or if we're having open dialogue, I can circle back with you and go, what did you think of that? Mm-hmm. What did you think of that discussion? We had a great one yesterday. I'm in Dallas right now. So we had some face-to-face meetings, and, part of what I should be doing is following. We're going, how did you think that went yesterday? I noticed a few things. What did you take away first and foremost? Listen, and then, have some notes on some things that you might not have seen because you were leading literally the discussion and leading us all in that discussion. So again, gaining perspective and empathy is critical. And I think you do that by being conscious about creating atmospheres where that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because it's not all one-on-one work. It can happen in multiple ways.
Right. And the more you know your team members, the better this is going to be for you. This is just, I would say 2023 for me, not even 2022. 2023 for me has been my biggest year of growth in this particular area because I'm aware of the way that you do it with me. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in a position to do it with people that I lead who lead others. So, well, let's think about her, for example, let's think about that person's life right now. Like they're struggling.
Yeah, they're in a season they're in a season. But it's because we've committed to wanting to know the person.
That's right.
Not just the doer of the work.
Right.
We're a human-centric organization. Yes. We care about people. So we can identify and hopefully be a support to them in that way.
And the manager and the person that I'm leading is still like, I got to get the efficiency. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And so the leader has to be brought in to say no, get yourself out of your management space, put yourself in your leadership shoes. How do you think that feels?
Right.
Right.
Yep. So
it's literally saying those things, guys. Like it's literally saying to someone that you're leading, okay, you sound like a great manager right now. Mm-hmm. You sound like a killer manager. However, let's pull ourselves out of that role. Let's put ourselves in the leadership role and think about what this person's going through.
Correct.
Okay.
So next, I think it's very important that we think of ourselves as mentors versus micromanagers. And when you evolve to leading someone who's leading the others, I think it's real easy to feel a bit self-conscious because, again, you're transferring a lot of decision-making. Some people call it control. I can't stand that. But you're transferring the knowledge and the responsibility to someone else. It's a natural tendency to want to micromanage that process. And if you're like me with abundance of patience, not
wink, wink,
it can be easy to, and I do this. I've done this to you recently, or not to you, but in the scope of if I don't see certain things happening, jumping back in and taking charge of an aspect, and I have to be conscious and I have to step back and go, whoa, that is not leading her. That is absolutely micromanaging a situation because most likely with me, there's some aspect of fear involved. Yeah. There's something there. There's an unknown. And really, it doesn't come from my heart to do that in a way that's like Megan can't do it. It's a protective instinct. It doesn't matter what it is. I shouldn't be doing it. And so I think I just have to remind myself I'm a mentor. I'm a mentor. She is capable of leading the people that are doing the work. So I have to trust that. And so micromanagement is just it's not sexy no matter when it happens.
To be honest, it's not fun either.
No, on either end.
It's the worst.
To do it, to be the micromanager or to be receiving the micromanagement. Totally. So I think that, again, it's mentorship and guidance that are most critical here.
Okay, great. And I think too, from the person like myself, I have to be willing to say, I need your coaching in this. I need your mentorship in this. I'm not good at that. Sometimes I'll say it like, I need your innovative brain right now or whatever. I'm learning to be better about that. Most of the time, depending on who you're leading, listeners, they may not be evolved enough to recognize when they need mentorship or if they just need you to tell them what to do. Mm-hmm. right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes people are more comfortable with just tell me what to do. Is that the right thing? You have to determine that. But mentorship is always the solution, and you have to know what's going on in that person's head in order to provide the right mentorship.
Yep.
Okay.
I think another thing in this particular role is that we need to set clear expectations. And as Brene, one of our heroes, Brene Brown says, Dr. Brene Brown, sorry about that, is to be clear is to be kind. And conversely, to be unclear is to be unkind.
Right.
So, and I think that clear expectations or setting them are critical. And I think it's making sure that you have done that, because sometimes I think I set a clear expectation and then I don't see any, I don't see something from that. So was that on me or was that on you? And I think that's where just the trust and the dialogue comes in. It's on both of us to make sure that we both know what the expectations are. So, but in the one who's leading the leader, I think the onus should be on us to set the clear expectations, and then to follow up to make sure that they're fully understood, or to see, here's the expectation here. Do you have any initial responses to why these may not be met, or
the opportunity to speak.
How are you feeling about these?
Totally.
I know, is that reasonable or not?
Right.
Because you should know more about what's going on in the operations of the business that could keep this expectation that I've set from happening. And you've gotten really, really good at that. So I would say that that's another area for us in this instance.
One of the things that you'll say to me that I really appreciate lately is, what did you hear me say? Like, what did we just decide?
Well, part of that is sometimes I can just...
Well, right.
I jump around.
Like, I appreciate it, and sometimes I don't hear it. So, or I missed it if I was writing something down or someone walked into my office. Like, that kind of stuff happens all the time. I'm distracted, and so you saying that is actually very helpful. You'll say, what did you hear me say? Or what were the 3 takeaways, or whatever? Like, that is being clear and being kind to me, because it allows me to regurgitate that from you and for me. So then we walk away together in the same steps.
Right. I think, something else I've learned is, the art of constructive and helpful feedback. And I would say, without a doubt, the only way to, in this particular instance, to be effective is there's got to be a significant amount of trust. And, that doesn't mean you're going to either one of us in this instance are going to get it right all the time. But there has to be a lot of trust that, because feedback is a cornerstone of personal and professional growth. We know that, right? And so I think if you can get in the habit of giving it regularly and not just when something goes awry, like being conscious of, what have I literally helped Megan with lately in terms of feedback? I don't feel like am I doing that on a regular basis? Telling her I like the way this is going, or I haven't heard about this in a while, or whatever it may be. But given the feedback, because if I tell you, I'm kind of in the dark over here, that's feedback that you need to be providing me with more updates on how something's going. So I think that's critically important. I mean, we all know that helpful feedback is.
Yeah.
But in this instance, the way you may have given and received feedback, it does change when this dynamic of leading the leader, because you, again, goes back to what I said earlier, you should be in more of an observation mode, a mentorship mode, which means your eyes are opened in a different way.
Right.
And that should be the support I'm providing you.
Right.
So I would say that that's definitely something that it remains critical. It wasn't not critical before, but it definitely is in this role. It just looks a little bit different in my experience.
Yeah, it does. And you have actually taught me how to give feedback by not giving feedback at all, but by asking questions. So if you're asking the question, I'm smart enough to know, if she's asking the question, that means she doesn't know, and that means I probably should have given that information. With the people that I'm leading who are leading others, it sounds like why do you think she or he said that to you? Like if I'm upset, if somebody's upset about something, why do you think they said that? And then I just sit there and I wait.
Right.
You know, so they're having to think through, they're giving themselves feedback.
Right.
By saying the words out loud, and then we go deeper, tell me more, you know, that kind of stuff. But to me, you've taught me how it doesn't always have to be. You have sat me down and been like, look, here are 5 things that you need to tackle immediately that I think are going to change your life. Boom, done. Easy. That's easy. I think the harder part is the question, like what, you know, then you'll say, okay, what do you think would make this situation better? Or how could we have done this differently? That's where the feedback comes into play. You almost give the leader the opportunity to lead themselves.
Right.
In that scenario.
Got it. I think too is, you know, when we're in this role of leading the leader, fostering a relationship and environment where teaching and growth mindset is a priority.
Like abundant.
Yes. And it's happening between the two of you. And again, in some cases, you may be leading multiple leaders who lead other people. But in this instance, you know, for us, it's that, and that has to be part of it. And because leadership, no matter what phase of it you're in, it's a continuous journey in terms of, I mean, obviously we're committed to that with this podcast and the things that we're doing. And I think our role in this instance can be really helping those that we're leading to talk to me about how you've been developing your team lately. Where do you think the needs are right now for this particular group? What can we be doing as an organization? Or hell, I'm reading this book, or I found this podcast. I want you to share it with your team. I think it's critically important. Let's listen to it together. Then let's talk about how you can share this with the group. And those are just some of the easy examples. And so I think obviously access to coaching, training, resources, you know, and again, we have an abundance of this information and learning tools that are available to us today. So we're lucky in that way, you know. And I think our role is to curate some of those opportunities for the leaders that we're leading so that their teams can benefit from those experiences and that knowledge.
Yeah. I think, you know, in terms of growth mindset, also with the coaching and development and the ongoing training, you're coaching them. So if you're leading someone who leads, you're coaching them and you're coaching them to coach the next. So in order to do that, you almost have to be very attentive to the conversation that's happening and thinking about, okay, sometimes I'll ask that. I'll ask them, I go, where's your mindset right now? Like, tell me, is this fatalist? Is this optimistic?
Right.
Where are we right now? So it's getting used to those types of things. Of course, there's professional coaching and development available out there. We would love for you to look at beselfsmarter.com and just take a look at what we have there. But that's what you could expect from us. You know, if you were to get involved in a coaching scenario with either Danelle, myself, or both, growth mindset is everything.
Everything.
It's the foundation. And so we're going to constantly be thinking about hearing what you want to do in terms of your future, and then working what we're going to say to you. That's why it's so custom in nature to get you to that point.
Yep. And I think too, you know, one of the things, and you know, you can either proactively establish this, or sometimes you're reactive, you know, and I can say that creating a supportive environment is important. And I think, again, it kind of goes in the same realm of being a mentor. Mentors are often supportive, but I think what I'm speaking to here is creating environments where those that we're leading feel comfortable seeking assistance. And that's us modeling what we had mentioned earlier, is that not expecting that they're going to know all the answers, and saying it's okay to come to me with questions or big blanks of, I'm not exactly sure what to do here. Now, if you did that, if you came to me and say, we have a let's problem or opportunity, doesn't matter, but I'm not sure what the next step is. If I am being a good mentor, and I've created a supportive environment because you're okay coming to me and saying that. If I'm a good mentor, I'm saying, do you not have any ideas of what we should do here? I mean, this is not the first time this has happened. This one's different.
Right.
But in this context, we've kind of dealt with something similar before. But you know, that's what I would be doing, to give you the opportunity to think through it. And then offer you the assistance that you need.
Right.
But I think it really comes down to a supportive environment does not exist without implicit trust.
Right.
And we have a whole episode on trust, by the way. It's not just something that is innate. It's something you can foster and build on. So it's a great episode. I just don't remember the number, but we'll put it in the show notes.
It's been a minute. I want to say it was in the top 15.
Yeah, the first 15.
The first 15.
Absolutely. So.
Okay, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention an example of the supportive environment. Yes, you can always, yes, you've always been great about that and providing assistance when needed. You're really good at crisis situations and being able to see an out when sometimes others cannot. You ask good questions that help us arrive to a solution, even if you don't know the answer. You just know how to ask good questions. But really what I've learned from you the most is leading by example. You have been a good role model for me to watch in order to, no one will ever fill your shoes here, but to try to move myself into a leadership position in the way that I have here. And it was a quiet learning. It's watching you in every single aspect of everything that you do. It's shaking hands at trade shows. It's the clothes you wore. It's the way that you engage with people and you know their children's name and the dog's name. And so there's that aspect of it. But then there's also learning by how you coach me and teach me to lead and how to lead the people I lead.
Yep.
That has taught me the most. So I think from how to lead leaders, how to lead people who lead by example.
Yeah, and I think here's the thing about, and thank you. I think there's multiple compliments in there, and I appreciate that. I myself learned from leaders. I mean, I could find myself. So when I was on this awareness of becoming a better leader, I chose leaders that I thought did a good job being a great example. And so I was like, okay, Danelle, if part of your evolution in this journey you're on is to be a great example, we probably need to look, obviously there's things that you're doing well. And some of the things that you just described, like my interaction with people, those skills, some of them were innate to me and some of them were things that I wanted to do. I wanted to ask questions that taught me more about who that person was, and so again, I'm innately curious, but I needed to hone some of those skills relative to my professional connections with people, right? But I think too, if I'd be remiss, and I would not be honest with you all right now, if I said that part of being an example is being a bad example, literally owning and saying, I didn't show up great then. I failed in that moment.
What do you know for sure about leading people that lead others?
I can tell you that leading someone who leads people is not a cakewalk. If leadership in itself is complex because people are, I don't mean that we're difficult. Yeah. That's different. I mean that there's a lot of moving parts to leading 1, leading 10, leading 100, because people are, there's a lot of complexities relative to mirroring. If you are a leader who cares deeply about a person bringing their individual talents and being who they are, and if you're invested in that, that means you have to also live with that as it relates to the business environment, right? So I think if we can just understand that, and it's not always going to be easy, and there's constantly going to be things that require you to be more agile and adapt to certain scenarios. That could be scenarios that the business is facing, but that could also be something that someone is personally facing too, like just to give some examples. So, it's not a leadership of any kind, especially leaders leading leaders. It's not a destination that you get to and you're good at it.
No.
And if you think about it that way, you're going to drive yourself, you're going to be fatigued. You're going to be really disappointed. So if you just think about it relative to, I'm constantly going to be evolving.
Yep.
And then I think what I know for sure is you're going to have a better chance of success than if you think there'll be a day when this it's a snap for me now. It's
never a snap.
No, it's not. It's not. And I think that's part of the beauty of it. It's hard. And I think that's why a lot of people do not designate or stand up and take the responsibility to lead. I think people want to, and it sounds great until you get in there and start doing it, and then you struggle.
Wow,
yeah.
It's hard.
And that's sometimes where the empathy and respect comes from. That it's not the easiest thing in the world. I think by understanding people's perspective and providing mentorship, as I talked about, setting clear expectations, sorry about that, offering feedback, fostering a culture of learning, and being a role model, we can empower and guide those that we're leading to be effective leaders themselves. Yep. So, and, ultimately our success in this role will contribute to the overall success and growth, of course, of the organization. And I think lastly, it's good to remember that leaders not only inspire their teams, but also empower other leaders to do the same. So
and I know
that's what I know for sure.
Both, that's the legacy. Mm-hmm. The legacy isn't, at least with this work that we're doing, the legacy, maybe there's multiple, but I know for sure that one of our combined legacies that we want to leave is that we teach other people how to lead other people, how to lead other people, how to lead other people.
Right.
Yeah. And it just goes on. And if that's, I've worked here more than I've worked anywhere. Mm-hmm. Most of my life I've worked here so far. And so this is what I know, and this is what I'm going to pass on.
Right.
Pass on to people that we lead, pass on to people that they lead, pass on to my child, pass on to my husband, pass on to my family. Like, it's just, this is legacy work, guys. That's the thing. Yes. Leaders leading leaders is legacy work.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Let's transition to music moment. 'Tis the season for football.
Yes.
And I know that the game is fun to watch and everything, but how about the music that the bands play during the game? I'm talking about college football now.
Okay, because I was like...
Like, the NFL doesn't play that.
Right.
Yeah. I wish they would.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I'm telling you, there's something about a drum line. Okay, David just laughed. David, the producer, just laughed.
He did funny. Out loud. That was great. Yes, Megan, you can a drum line. I don't even know what that is, but
yes, you do. Well, the Aggie band.
Yes, I mean, I know what. I just didn't think of it in that terms.
That's what I mean.
No, I think, and it sucks because if you're an avid college football fan, the opportunity to even see they may give the band 10 seconds. And it really stings because a lot of these schools have put a lot
so much work
into the bands. And it just, in particular, you mentioned it. Of course, I was not going to be able to talk, but the Aggie band. So I went to a college where it is, I mean,
it's a huge deal.
It's a big damn deal. And it's a corps of cadets. So it's really tied to, we have a cadet system at College Station. It's tied to our military, and this band, if you just Google it, like we'll put maybe some clips from YouTube out there of some of their best marches, but what they're able to do with the instruments, and I think the band's over 500. I mean, if you think huge band.
Eventually they take up the whole.
And it's, by the way, called the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band, and we have a saying at A&M that we've never lost a halftime. So when the different bands, but there are so many schools that have interesting takes, whether they're entertaining. Some of them, they have instruments that you would never expect to be able to go onto field. So, but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the bands. I don't think they get a lot of fanfare, and but I will be honest, I've listened to a lot of bands and they try to pull off a U2 song or something else, and it's like, whoa, that was a stretch. But, I do appreciate that from, an entertainment perspective for college football. It's because you just want to cheer for them.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
I mean, even
and then they're out there. There's some dancing going on and batons, and I know you're jiving with all that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, in high school football here in Texas, it's Friday Night Lights, and where I went to school in West Texas in Midland Lee. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, they were probably, I think a majority of the kids ended up going to A&M, but it was like a little A&M. Everything was maroon, white, and gray. Mm-hmm. And the band was just unbelievable. But some of my fondest memories of football games are the drum line or the band playing. They would make up beats.
Yes.
I mean, and we would just be like, doing, like, what, like in the stands. And so the other day, it was a great football game day on Saturday, college football. And I'm walking through that, like washing clothes or something stupid, like normal. And somebody broke out into a drum line beat and I just broke it down. I just broke it down in the living room, and Aaron
what does that mean? Broke it down.
Start dancing.
Oh, you started dancing
like I would in high school. Like,
wow, you just threw out some slang right there.
If I hear it, if I hear it, it's like triggering in a good way.
Well, I'm sure Aaron really. Bad. I'm sure.
I don't know. Aaron was like, okay. No, he was kind of with it. He was like, okay, do you?
Do you?
It was so funny. I mean, I was crying laughing. So anyway, but I was like, we should talk about that on Music Moment, because that is a huge, those kids work so hard to get to that point.
And so shout out to all the band folks,
kids.
The band kids. Yeah,
that's right. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being with us today. We know this is hard work, leaders leading leaders, and we're just grateful that you were here to let us lead you, even if just for a little bit. So be sure to take note of the show notes. We'll have some links in there. Tell a friend. We'd really appreciate that. And visit beselfsmarter.com. If any coaching is interesting to you or resources that we have, we'd love for you to take a look. And until next week, we send you into the week with grateful hearts.
Goodbye, everyone. As always, you can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Self Smarter Podcasts. You can also leave a rating or review if you enjoyed what you heard today. Not only does this mean so much to us, but it also helps other leaders and future leaders find our community. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in becoming self-smarter. This podcast is produced by Snacks Media, and music is from a free platform. Well, that is until Brandy Carlisle reaches out to us to write the original score for our podcast. Friends, have a great rest of your day.